selected wrong. Alrighty. So in
There we
here,
go.
and here we go into level 1. And actually, you know what? I might as well show it off. So I'm gonna show off an actually very cool glitch and everything. So you see this locked door right here?
Yep.
All right, let's step back in. And now it's unlocked. So
I actually didn't know that.
yeah,
This is the first time I.
Yeah, pretty much like, yeah, I think I actually found it out through, like, a YouTube video and everything, and I was just like, oh, okay. And pretty much, like, yeah, that's a glitch that, like, happens for, like, whatever reason and such. So, pretty much, like, you know, if you want to save that, 1 extra key and everything, well, there you go. Just do that glitch, and that, 1 extra key is now yours. So, yeah, pretty much like I said, for every dungeon and everything, I'm gonna get the map, I'm gonna get the compass, and I'm also gonna make sure to show off every single, like, you know, hint. Or at least, like, yeah, the hints the old man gave you, and like each of the dungeons as well too. So pretty much, like, just to give you an idea on, like, you know, what kind of, like, quote-unquote wisdom some of the old men would give you during the dungeons and such.
Alright, so these are called Staffos. Now, these guys are just, you know, basic enemies. You can kill them easily, so...
Yeah, pretty much. Like, whether with the white sword or the wooden sword and everything, like, yeah, they're very easy to kill. And, these bats are actually called keys and such. And, yeah, don't bother trying to kill them all too much because, yeah, they don't really drop anything or really give you anything. You could try to kill them all and see if, like, you know, maybe they might leave a compass for you and such, or a map at the end of the day. But if there are certain rooms that really don't leave you nothing, like this room right over here, then pretty much you could just skip it if you want. Now for this room, I'm actually not going to skip, because like I actually do need to kill these enemies. Because once I kill these Zells, or as I like to call them, Hershey Kisses. Push this block.
Yeah, they look like Hershey Kisses.
Yeah, you push this block, go right in here. And here you are, the first old man wisdom of the day.
Eatmost Peninsula is the secret.
Fuck is that, mean, old man? Why?
I always love doing that.
Yeah.
It brings me joy.
Yeah, pretty.
I don't like. All right, so not all the old men are, you know, annoying me. It's only the ones in the dungeons that really annoy me.
Yeah, because like, well, actually, at the very least, like some of them do give you like helpful hints and advice and everything. But then you got those like the one you just saw right here, and like, yeah, pretty much that's a hint that like really still confuses the Legend of Zelda players to this day and everything. Because like, yeah, to this day and such, like, you know, no one actually knows like, you know, what the old man is trying to say and such. Like, some people probably think that like maybe he's talking about like, you know, the most east part in the overworld, where pretty much like, you know, you go up and you get the 100 rupees and such. Others probably think that like, you know, maybe he might be talking about like, you know, where the Triforce is and such, based on like the map. But pretty much like, yeah, to this day and everything, like, yeah, no one exactly knows what the old man is trying to say and such.
I think I know what he's trying to say.
What?
He said Eastmost Peninsula, right?
Yeah, Eastmost Peninsula, yeah.
Well, the only peninsula I know is the peninsula of these nuts.
And pretty much as we segue to that, yeah, it's okay. So this item right here, this is one of the items what you do need in order to, like, you know, beat the game and such. So you do need a bow and you do need the arrows. If you do not have the bow and you do not have the arrows, well, pretty much you're not going to complete this game anytime soon. And, yeah, these traps, like, yeah, be very careful with these traps and everything. So what I
do is I usually slowly get close to them, and as soon as yeah, like that.
Yeah,
basically.
like that.
That's what I do.
So yeah, pretty much you could either like, you know, bait them and everything to like activate, or pretty much like yeah, you could just outrun them and everything, and you'll be just fine and such.
Yeah, basically just don't stand in the way where they are.
Yeah, pretty much. Alright, so now that we got the bow and now that we got the arrow and everything, we're gonna go right over here, and I'll just use the candle set because I don't want to waste the bomb just yet. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and kill some more Gorias. And if you kill these Gorias, you get the boomerang. Now, the boomerang is that item where, like, you know, you don't really need it if you don't want to and everything, but it definitely does make the game a lot easier, so I'm gonna grab it.
I usually don't use it. The last time I played the game casually, I usually used it rarely, like super rarely.
Yeah, because like I really like the only thing like the boomerang does, like as we're gonna see right here, like
careful with these guys.
Yeah, pretty much with these boomerang right here, like yeah, it stuns enemies like the wall masters, and pretty much like yeah, the more you stun them and everything, it pretty much gives you a chance to use your sword on them, like so. So all of them are dead. But pretty much the
with those
boomerangs
hands.
also can be used to kill like very smaller enemies, like pretty much the keys or the gels and such. And
Yeah, I was gonna mention those hands. Be careful with those hands because if they grab you, you're going all the way back to the start.
Yep, Wallmaster. So pretty much as Barney says, as we pretty much just ignore, ignore Aquamentus over there, cause he's pretty much that easy as a boss. Pretty much with the Wallmaster and everything, as Barney said, if they touch you, you go all the way back to the beginning of the dungeon. So yeah, pretty much just try not to let them grab you if you can. And with that, we already got one. And with that, we already got one of the 8 units of the Triforce and such. So pretty much with one down, fuck you, Sora. Pretty much with one down, we can go ahead and get started with the next. We go ahead and get started on the next dungeon, which is actually not too far from here. Let's go ahead.
All right, when you get there, let me go get the charger because my laptop's running out of battery. So.
All right, take your time.
Oh,
and pretty much since pretty much since we got most of the items that we needed and everything as well too. I'm not really gonna be worrying too much about money as of yet and such. So pretty much I'm just gonna try my best to ignore some enemies as I can. If they're in the way, then I'll go ahead and give them a little stab and such. But I'm gonna give you a stab. But yeah, not really bothering me too much or anything. And I'm gonna try to ignore them as best I can. Alright, so here we are, the second dungeon already. And let me see if we have anyone in the chat. Nope. Alright, let's continue on. Now we got ropes. So pretty much if these snake-like creatures see you, they're gonna start zooming in right towards you. But they're only gonna see you if you're standing right over here on a square. If you're standing somewhere in a half square or something, then pretty much they're not really gonna charge towards you. So if you don't want them to charge, you don't want the snakes to charge at you too much, then pretty much just make sure you're not standing too close. Just make sure you're not really standing on a tile square and such. But pretty much the ropes are kind of easy enemies and everything, not really all too bad. And I got that. And pretty much they really give you a lot of rupees as well too. So pretty much if you're low on rupees and there's a certain item that you want to get, then just come into the dungeon and pretty much just kill as many ropes as you can, and the rupees are yours. Which that's the nice thing about The Legend of Zelda, at least in terms of this one and everything, pretty much you can go ahead and redo the dungeons, anytime you want in order to get some extra money, pretty much even after you get, the Triforce and everything, nothing's really stopping you from going back to the dungeon for whatever reason and such, so... And actually, that's actually very helpful as well too, in case you forget a dungeon item or pretty much maybe like I said, I just want to get some rupees or some bombs, and you might know a certain enemy where you can get said rupees instead of bombs.
All right, I got the charger. I'm back. We're doing dungeon 2.
Yes, we're doing dungeon 2 right now, and I'm just coming over here to get another dungeon item. And again, this dungeon item, is one where, again, you don't really have to get it if you don't want to, but I'm gonna get it anyway, because, it makes the game, somewhat easier, but again, it's not really all that mandatory. So, let me go ahead and, stuff that just a bit. And we get the magical boomerang, so pretty much for those that already had a normal boomerang, well, you get it, you already get the magical boomerang right off the bat, so bye-bye, normal boomerang. And, alright.
Yeah, the normal one's kinda so,
Yeah. And pretty much, as you can see right here, so yes. So pretty much, these are terms of the first quest and everything. All the dungeon maps have certain different shapes to them. In the first dungeon, it was in the shape of an eagle, and for this dungeon, it's in the shape of a moon. Alright, we'll go over here.
Alright.
Here we actually forgot what these enemies are called. I just usually call them fireballs.
Yeah, I call them fireballs as well, because that's what they are,
yeah.
Basically.
Which, fun fact, originally the fireball that was in Super Mario Brothers was actually going to be used for The Legend of Zelda instead.
Yeah, that's true, the fire bar.
Yep.
That would have been terrifying, honestly.
It kind of would. Like, honestly, like, it would be kind of interesting to see, like, what type of enemy, like, would the fireball be? Like, had, like, pretty much had, like, Miyamoto decided to, like, still include it in Zelda and not in Mario and such.
The one thing that would have concerned me is the one that has, like, 12,
Yeah,
the big ass
12,
one.
like, fireballs and such. Right,
That, the big ass one? The big ass one? The one that has 14?
Yeah.
Dodongo dislikes smoke.
Alright, actually, this hint is actually very helpful because, yeah, coming up right here soon, this is where we're gonna meet that said boss, Dodongo. So pretty much as the old man said, he just likes smoke. So pretty much what you want to do, you want to place bombs. Now, there's two ways you could kill him with a bomb. One easier way you could do it, if I could try to get it, if you could try to line it up, you could try to line up like this. Yeah, feed a bomb in his mouth. Quickly put another one, and there you go. He's gone. Now, another way you could do it, I'm gonna try my best to show it off, but this one is very tricky, and you gotta make sure you gotta have perfect timing. You could actually try to leave a bomb somewhere in the middle, and just hope that, like, when it goes off and everything, that, like, it's gonna get to the Dodongo. And if it gets to the Dodongo and stuns him, then that's your chance to stab him. If you don't stab him, then pretty much he's gonna keep on moving and such. So that part is a little bit more tricky, it's a little bit more tricky for first-timers and everything, so pretty much I would definitely recommend, like, definitely pretty much I would recommend just putting, like, the two bombs in his mouth and everything, and pretty much you'll definitely be fine.
Yeah, just do that because, the other way is much trickier. I tried it and it's, very tricky, so.
Yeah, it is, because like I said, like, not only do you gotta make sure you place the bomb, like, almost perfectly, but you gotta make sure that, like, the Dodongo would actually run into that bomb in the first place. Alrighty, so, alright, now that we're making good progress, we're gonna go ahead and continue on. Actually, you know what, I'm gonna go down for this one. I want to get some hearts, so let's see if they might drop something. No. Alright, let's continue on. Here. So pretty much while we're moving on to the next dungeon and everything, pretty much like, yeah, the first time, like, I played The Legend of Zelda on my own, like, at least in terms of, like, before I started a gaming channel and everything, like, the first time I decided to play it for the NES and everything, like, even back then, like, I thought, like, the game was, like, looked very interesting and very cool and such, like, pretty much, like, there was something about, like, the feeling of the overworld and even, like, seeing the nice colors and everything, around the game and everything, like, because I will admit, like I said, like, even for, like, a 1986 game and everything, like, it is still very beautiful to look at and such, and pretty much, like, I have to say, like, this is definitely Miyamoto and the team's, like, best work in terms of, like, what they had to work with the hardware at the time and such.
And and this was a launch title for the Famicom.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was definitely a launch title for the new Famicom disc system and everything. And I actually made a little error and such. Like, I pretty much just one out of the 7 games, not 9 games. Pretty much there were 7 games serving as launch titles for the add-on and such. And
yes.
Pretty much like like when it first came to Japan and everything, like it did fairly decent and everything. It did fairly decent and such in Japan and everything. But it was definitely in North America, and especially in Europe as well too, where the game really took off very well and such.
Yeah, and I can see why. And I can definitely
yeah, me
see
too.
why.
Because like I said, and pretty much as like other people point out as well too, like this was definitely something like not really done too much at the time and everything. So pretty much seeing a game like that was like pretty much open and everything, like almost like I said, almost allowing the player to go as like almost in any direction or in any way like they want to go and such, and pretty much like beat the game however they want to beat it and everything as well too. Like that was still pretty much like mind-blowing at that time and such. And I pretty much
the fact that at that time saving games was like a vision of the future. This was the first game where you could save your progress. So.
Actually, yeah, like pretty much with the Famicom disc system and everything, like yeah, because this game was on a disc and everything, like pretty much like yeah, it made it a lot more easy and everything to like save a game and such, and pretty much now with that, like, you know, you can go ahead and pick up the game and continue where you left off. Like, you know, you don't have to worry about, like, you know, certain games and everything, like, being, pretty much, like, yeah, you don't have to worry about, like, you know, turning on the controller, or at least turning on the console, and having to worry about, like, you know, starting the game all over again and everything. No, like, pretty much, like, you can go ahead and continue the game wherever you left off, and pretty much just keep on beating it, like, pretty much at your own pace and such, too.
Uh-oh, look who it is.
Yep, the Dark Nuts. Now, pretty much, if you saw my, honestly, like, even back then, like, cause, like, yeah, like, pretty much, like, I did look back at my, old Let's Play on, like, the, Legend of Zelda and everything, and, honestly, yeah, the Dark Nuts never really gave me all that much trouble as I thought they were going to give me and everything, like...
I remember in my Let's Play, when we did the Let's Play back in 2019, these guys gave me some trouble, and I actually found a pattern with them.
Yeah, pretty much, like, yeah, as you saw right there, pretty much, like, you know, as long as you're not, like, being too reckless and everything, and just waiting, like, as patiently as possible and everything, then, pretty much, like, yeah, like, pretty much the Dark Nuts are, like, not all that much bad enemies and such. And especially with the White Sword and everything, like, you know, it definitely makes this a lot more, it definitely makes it a lot more, easy, like, you know, to handle them and such. And, I mean, like, so far, yeah, I'm doing very well against the Dark Nuts. Like, I'm a little surprised on this one. Up. Okay. And there we go. Alrighty, I'm not gonna worry about the bomb. Alrighty. And, yeah, there's this, I'm gonna see if I can try to kill some of them.
The trick I have with them is to basically do not make direct contact, because that's the easiest way to lose hearts and get a game over easily.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, the only way I will do direct contact with them is to basically if you're on low health, because there's no other way.
And right here, alright, so this is one of the mandatory items you need in order to complete the game, the Wrath. Because pretty much, if you do not have this Wrath, then you cannot complete the game no matter what. And pretty much you'll see why in a bit. Alright, let's get on out of here. And, okay,
to be fair, the orange dark nuts I don't have a problem with. The blue ones are the trouble.
Okay, the blue ones can also be very tricky and everything, but honestly, even the blue ones never really gave me all, like, that much trouble and such. And yeah, bubbles. So pretty much, alright, so one nice thing about the bubbles is that, like, you don't lose any health if you hit them. But one slightly annoying thing about the bubbles is that, like, you know, if you let them touch you, then pretty much you cannot use your sword for a good while and such. So
the blue ones, at least.
Yeah. So pretty much you want to make sure that, like, you know, they do not touch you all too much. And actually, I did not mean to waste a key over there, but whatever. I mean, to be fair, like, yeah, at least I get an extra key out of it. So, like, yeah, I'm not all that annoyed. But I do actually want to go up here, because this is where, like, this is where we could get, actually, like, another hint from the, old man and such. Okay, this is block.
Ah, okay. Did you get the sword from the old man on the top of the waterfall?
Oh, you mean this sword? Yeah, I do, bye! Yeah, so pretty much, like, yeah, so that's one of the more very helpful hints in the game. So pretty much, like, yeah, for the newcomers that probably, like, did not get the white sword or probably did not see the waterfall just yet, well, there you go. The old man just basically gave, it away on, like, you know, where that white sword is. And yes, alright, so before, again, like, I know, pretty much I know most people probably already know this by now, but pretty much, like, yeah, I need to say the obvious. No, it's not what you think it is, alright? It's a different symbol, okay? Pretty much it's like a very different symbol. Actually, this symbol is actually very common in Japanese, actually. I believe it's called, like, what, a manchi or something like that? Which pretty much, yeah, like I said, pretty much, yeah, it's not a symbol that you're thinking of and everything, so pretty much, like, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we got done with the...
It doesn't look like the Nazi symbol.
Yeah, pretty much, like, yeah, no, it's not, because, like, yeah, pretty much that symbol is obviously very different than the one that, like, you know, we're thinking of to this day and such. Pretty Pretty much it's a symbol mostly used for like Buddhist temples and such.
Ooh, that was close.
Yeah, it certainly was actually. Alrighty, well now that we got the wrap, we can go ahead and pretty much tackle on another dungeon. So let's go ahead and do that and such.
So far, nobody on the chat.
So pretty much, yeah, as you can see and everything, yeah, now that we got all the items that that we got right off the bat, right before the very first dungeon and everything. Pretty much like yeah, this game's going by like pretty much fairly fast and such. Like, pretty much like as long as you know what you're doing and everything, like you can pretty much like very easily beat the first quest in like just under 2 hours and such if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, we're cruising like this is nothing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So far.
And welcome to Dungeon 4. Okay, so hold on. Alright, so hold on. So pretty much after I get done with this, I'm gonna take just a little short break because my cat's meowing. So,
He wants food?
yeah. Alright, I'll be right back, folks. So, pretty much I might, most likely I'm definitely gonna cut this part, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, folks. Sorry about that. Alright, so, basically I gave my cat some chicken. So now let's go ahead and, yeah, do Dungeon 4. So, alright, yeah, fire. So, pretty much, don't really bother too much with these enemies and everything, at least not yet. Because with the white sword and everything, pretty much the only thing I can really do to them and such is pretty much, like, stab them, but once I stab them and such, they're pretty much, like, here, I'll show you. So, I'm gonna try to stun this one first. There we go. So, once I stun him, yeah, they're gonna turn into bats and everything. And pretty much, as we already know, like, yeah, they're not really gonna drop any items and such and everything. So, pretty much, I would not really worry too much about these guys in the slightest. Again, at least not now and such. So, pretty much, like, as long as they're not really giving you too much trouble, then just basically ignore them and such as best you can. Because, like, yeah, like, outside of, like, a few keys and everything that you're gonna get in this room, like, you know, that one right over there, pretty much, like, yeah, there's really not, there's not gonna be too many, item drops in this dungeon and everything to pretty much, like, make it worth, like, killing some of the enemies and such. So, pretty much, like, you know, if you don't have to kill the enemies, and, pretty much, like, you know, pretty much, like, yeah, you don't have to kill the enemies if you don't want to. If you feel like, you know, it's not really worth it in the end. Because, yeah, I don't really think, like, yeah, to give you any, yeah, I don't really think, like, the game gives you anything too much in this.
No, I don't think they'll drop anything, actually, so just ignore them.
Let me at least check, because, like, just one left anyway, so might as well.
There we go.
Yeah, no.
No.
Yeah, see what I mean? So, pretty much, yeah, just go. And, yeah, pretty much, yeah, this is the first dungeon to pretty much introduce the idea of, dark rooms and such. So, pretty much, if a room is a little dark and you're having a little trouble seeing, light up. There you go. And stopwatch. And yeah,
this is the only game. This is the only game to feature the stopwatch.
Gee, I wonder why.
Because it was a weapon that's so broken that, you know.
Yeah, pretty much like, pretty much an item that's, like, you know, can very much easily be broken, especially, like, you know, when you come across, like, certain enemies that give you, like, such a hard time and everything. As soon as you see the stopwatch and such, pretty much it's like a free kill for Link and such. Actually, I shouldn't say Link. I should call him Bort now.
Yeah, so Bort, for Bort, basically.
Yeah, so pretty much it's free kill for Bort.
Unfortunately, I really wish they would have kept it for the next game because, man, oh man, we really needed it in that game.
Well, speaking of it, look who we got! Yeah, likes. So, pretty much, yeah, be very careful with these enemies, as I'm sure, like, most Legend of Zelda fans already know, especially in this game, if these likes come into contact with you, they're going to start eating your shield, and pretty much, like, you know, if you don't kill them right away, your shield is gone, and you gotta buy another one.
And like I said, they're the most dangerous enemy in the game, in my opinion.
They are actually very dangerous and such, so pretty much one or two things, like, you know, if you have your sword beam, then go ahead and use the sword beam. If you don't have your sword beam, then what you could do, like, you can use your boomerang and such, and pretty much, like, stun them for a while. Or if you have the bow and arrow, then just use the bow and arrow on them.
Still, though, you have to be very fast. If they catch you, you have to be fast, because if not...
Yeah, pretty much. Which, like I said, as most Legend of Zelda fans have pointed out, in later games, like, you know, if a like does eat your shield, you can actually get it back if you kill it and such. Alright, now pretty much like, yeah, the item we got over here, and this is another mandatory item, is the step ladder. So pretty much with the step ladder, as you can see, you can actually, like, you know, walk over one tile of water and such. And pretty much this is something that we actually need in this room for this reason right here. Yeah, so pretty much if we did not have this step ladder, then pretty much we could not, you know, complete the dungeon, no matter what. Alright, now if you go over here and light up this room, there's the map. And now for the shape of this room, it's supposed to be a snake of some kind. I don't really see it. I don't know, like, where they get snake, but sure, it's a snake. Let's go with it. Yeah, actually, you know what? You died. Okay. Alright, now, normally I wouldn't really bother myself with this boss all too much, but again, like, once we get up to this one right here, pretty much we're gonna come across another old man and everything, so might as well,
this guy's really
kill him
annoying.
as fast as I can.
This guy's really annoying. That guy's really annoying.
I mean, it's not really all too bad and everything. Like, you know, if you just stab him, like, you know,
into the waterfall.
Yeah, walk into the waterfall. Which, actually, we are going to do that after this, you know, after this dungeon. But anyway, yeah, manhandle and everything. I wouldn't say he's really all that annoying and everything. Like, pretty much all you really gotta do is just make sure that, like, you know, that pretty much, like, you know, wherever you place your bomb and everything, it's gonna be the perfect spot to where, like, you know, it's gonna kill him in, like, one hit and such. And pretty much, like, even if it doesn't kill him in one hit and everything, then pretty much, like, you know, you will still be able to get him just fine and such. Whoop. Alrighty, actually, let me just go over here. Because, yeah, and then we'll go ahead and bomb this wall.
Bomb the wall.
Alright, now for these fires, we do have to kill them.
I like how when you hit them, they just go flying until they hit the wall. And
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much that's the power of the sword. That's the power of the white sword. Like, you know, one stab and all of a sudden they just go flying out. Pretty much almost equivalent of, like, you know, Link just like sucker punch them or something. Alrighty, here we are. Gleeok. Now, usually what I do to Gleeok, like, you know, I just stab him and everything, and I try to avoid the fireballs as best as I can. And, like, yeah, pretty much, like, you know, if you try to take your time with it and everything and try not to get hit by the fireball, you'll be alright. Let's see. I would not be surprised, like, you know, if I'm gonna have to use my potion, because sometimes I do have to use my potion for this guy. Okay, I'm gonna try my best. Get away from me. There we go. Alrighty. I did not need to use my potion. Good. Alrighty, we're already halfway through with the game, folks. We already got half of the Triforce complete.